Ha, my friends, good morning. It is I, Alphinius Goo, your friend. Yes, at least I hope I am. And Camera Mandy, who's behind the camera. Say hello, Camera Mandy.
Hello.
Happy Saturday, my friends. I hope you're doing fantastic this day. We have a little bit of a rain here in old Colorado, which is the other place where the Tower of Goo exists, along with, of course, on the Mistrewn River in the midst of the Republic of Zyathé. Yes. So in Colorado, we've got a little rain today, which is nice because all the little flowers and the little bugs and bees and birds and all them get a little drink, which is a good thing. Yes. Anyway, good morning, Camera Mandy. Are you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm having a great morning. That sounded really sarcastic.
Yes, because tell the truth. Just tell the truth.
No, I'm not going to.
Camera Mandy
I'm
got
actually
sick
having.
to her tummy last night.
Hey,
yes,
shut
for no
up.
reason. Shut up. You can't tell the old wizard to shut
I'm
up.
actually really well.
Yes, Camera Mandy got a little ill. Yes, I think it was drinking. It was drinking. Yes, tell the truth, Camera Mandy. A little too much imbibement. Come on, Camera Mandy. Just admit the truth.
I am actually in a very good mood.
I got some scotch in here.
I was, quote unquote, sick to my tummy. Thank you for putting that on blast. But I am totally fine.
She was vomitocious. That's what they say.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
But she's looking good this morning and seeming very happy. So I assume that the hangover has passed.
There was no hangover. I was literally with my in-laws last night.
Oh, drinking with the in-laws.
Oh
I've done that before. Yes, it's really weird.
Oh my goodness. Hi, everyone. I am so excited for you to join us today. We are doing our second part of our book club.
Yes, the book club.
Indeed.
So what we are doing is, because people have asked, could we go through the lore a little bit? We're going to do that. But even though we have kind of done the creation story in the past, we felt it was important to sort of begin there a little bit. So we'll do that for, just the next session or two today and maybe one more time. And then we'll be done with that. And then we're going to begin talking about other things we haven't talked about so much. So we're kind of excited about this. Yes, Camera Mandy?
Absolutely. Honestly, I really loved reading the start of the Wy'rd world. I'm sorry, I don't say it right. The Wy'rd world. And
so, Camera Mandy, can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
And you don't forget your thought now. Keep that thought.
Okay.
So this is the thing, what everyone needs to understand. They ask me all the time about this apostrophe, and I know many of you probably already know who are watching this little stream this morning. But it is always a little tiny pause. That's what that little apostrophe means, right? So, when it is between two vowels, which is typically when it's used, but it's used other times as well, mostly because people in the Contributors Guild began doing it with the names of their characters, So anyway, but that is beside the point. So when you say thu'ul, right, because it is you with an apostrophe between the two u's, right, the two u's, you say thu'ul instead of thul, right? That's just the way it works.
Jen says, we know. Oh.
We know. Oh, well done, Jen. Jen. Well done, my dear.
You're getting a lot of this.
Excellent play.
Okay,
yes.
we understand.
Vomitocious, as Camera Mandy was last night. Yes, that's right.
My gosh.
All right, good. I'm glad. I will not mention that again for a while. So we'll keep that between us.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Anyway, what was your thought? Keep going. So you were reading.
Yes, and I'm really excited to talk about the etheric civilization and everything that was happening there. I like the layers of history that you have created for Zyathé. I think it's very interesting.
Well, as I've said before, I think that any great tales require, I think this is one of the reasons why Tolkien spent so much time on the histories of Middle-earth and the languages and all of this stuff, is because Tolkien knew that to really tell an epic tale, you had to have a good foundation of reality so that you have fantastically plausible stuff going on, right? And that is the idea. So we did, and of course, some of this is steeped in the lore of our home game for many years and home games for many years. And some of it, sort of inspired after the fact when we began talking about it and we began writing things on the board. And, there was a whiteboard. I don't remember if you remember this, Camera Mandy, but there was a whiteboard here in the office studio, which was both, right, that had all this stuff on it, right, and all these different names of places. And then there was that original document that I put together, which had all the Zyathé terms and still has all kinds of things in there like material components and fungi and plant life and different kinds of trees and all of this kind of stuff that we've never really brought forth yet, other than sort of whispering about them in certain circumstances. So, I'm excited to see where this continues, with all of the crazy contributors and wonderful people that we have bringing their stuff to the table and adding to it and all that. It's amazing. And yes, I think we have a wonderful creation story and a wonderful beginning of lore. And that foundation provides a foundation for everything else, right? Because we have the wonderful, and terrifying corruption lords, right? We have Avoval, who is gone. We have the 72 gods of the Eterniverse. And then, of course, there's this other whispered thing that's going on, which is the 9. So, oh, you put up what is a little bit of social media going up here right now, cameraman?
Well, I just thought we'd start with Magicka and get a update on Magicka and where we're at.
I'll do that quick. So this Magicka is very, very close. Honestly, it probably would have dropped. Maybe not the end of last week, but maybe this first couple of days of this week, except for I did some things. And I was just going through it for the last time, and we've made a lot of edits, and we still have more edits to make. But I felt like the Technic Artificer was not still quite where we wanted it to be in terms of the class. And so Marvelous AJ really worked on that and put some of the more things that I really wanted in there, because I really wanted to be vibing their Technic machinations, right? I don't want them to just be sort of spellcasters that make a few gizmos here and there, right? And so we really worked that, and of course that's embodied with that picture, right? Well, this was one of my favorite images right here, which is one of the Etherean people, right, from the East, and they are, of course, very. I'm looking at it on the TV. If you see me looking to the left, you know, it's this really, really good, marvelous image of her, and she is a agent, right? And so this is marvelous, right? This new class, the agent class that is coming. I think you're going to love it. We've made some adjustments. Thanks to all who have really helped with this. This is Kaya, and we've had Andrew came in and gave us some good suggestions, and of course Carrie and Mike and AJ and Autumn and a number of other folks. Maya was in there helping us out, and of course in the past. Lee helped us out with this and really helped us to refine these classes and these spells and all of this stuff that is in there to try to make sure we weren't, going off our nuts and having something be totally OP or things that weren't good, that weren't were too underpowered or whatever. So it is a marvelous. And if I forgot your name, there's many people who have helped. Please forgive me that I did not. But everyone who has provided some input is reflected in the titles, and we're excited to have so many of our contributors. Go back to Grondok real quick, would you?
Is this Grond?
No, one more. Two more. I think two more. No, right there.
All right.
So,
wait,
so
can
this.
I say
Yes, of course.
Sorry, we have someone, the bent hand, that they said love from South Africa.
Oh, hello, South African bent hand person. Yes. Do we know a name for real?
I don't know their real name. You can put it in the chat. But I just thought that was really cool that we have someone watching from South Africa.
We amazingly have folks all over the world. It is amazing and wonderful and fantastic. And I don't know how many people know, but it does look like pretty seriously that we're going to go to Games Expo in 2023 in England.
Stop getting me so excited about this.
Yeah, Camera Mandy's going to come along. We're going to try to produce a little video while we're there and do some other things.
We'll produce lots of videos while we're up there.
Yeah, so we're excited to do that and see some of our friends. I'm hoping Ms. Goo and I can actually do a little bit of traveling ourselves. We haven't had really a vacation like many folks have not in probably 3 years of any significance other than going to conventions, which is wonderful and fun, but definitely not restful. Anyway, so Thomas has a character named Grodruk, and Grodruk is an emissary from Magdranog to the Republic. Because this whole thing, the wonderful tension that's going on in Zoranthia, of course, is that the fact that this vile desolation lies between Magdranog and the Republic, and sort of is what caused the stoppage of the war. And there are certainly people and individuals in Magdranog and people and individuals in the Republic who now consider the vile desolation a much greater threat to their countries, their nations, their sovereignties than they consider each other. And so the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing, right? Which, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but the person who made that quote, if you watch the Star Trek movie, you got this, but I knew this beforehand. The person who made that quote ended up dying, right? Being killed by one of their friendly enemies or something like that, or frenemies or whatever it was, right? So it's not the greatest quote in the world, but it is interesting to ponder that Magdranog and the Arachnoids there are actually becoming potentially more at odds with Nordruka, where the homeland of the Arachnoids, and probably more friendly with the Republic, right? So this is marvelous, right? And this brings all this tension, and then you've got the marvelous vile desolation in the middle, and that's the stew. So anyway, Grodruk is an emissary to the Republic, and your players might run into said individual in the midst of Darken Haven, yes, or perhaps the Gloom-Port. Marvelous tale. Anyway, that is good, Camera Mandy. How am I doing?
Great. Con Andy had a really nice. Con Andy. I guess not Canandy, but whatever.
Andrew,
yeah,
yes.
Had a really nice point. He said, you should host a Gooey D&D in a castle. So I would like to put it out there. If anyone is watching and happens to have a castle.
Does anyone have a castle out there? Yes. I have a couple of them, but not in England.
Yes. I mean, even if we had a castle here in America and we could do it, I would be on board. So anyway, but I want to also give a shout out to Kaya, who I know has fixed so many problems with Magicka in terms of the editing.
Absolutely. Kaya's been magnificent. Did I not say Kaya? I thought I did.
You might have said Kaya.
But it's okay.
I wanted to give her a special shout out.
Yeah, she is probably, of all of the marvelous folks who have helped us, has dug in harder and hit it harder than anyone. And she has been just wonderful. And of course, Carrie, began the process of authoring this thing and did such a wonderful job. But then we had others who came alongside, right, with Zach and others. So I don't need to go through all the list of folks again. But we really are thankful for how great Magicka is coming to be. And I think you're going to love it. I think you're going to love the new classes. I think you're going to love the new spells. I think you're going to love the lore and history that's weaved in there, plus all the little tales, right? That are magnificent. Adam did a wonderful essay, which I think is going to make you smile, and we have this really kind of scary one that talks about flowstones from Jordy Bruintalk, right? Who is Robert, and there, there's like 15 or 16 essays in there. Anthony's got a great essay in there, and you're going to love them. They just all tell little tales. So this one is The Inn on the Way, which is also in Verdestia, and is a magnificent little tale, and a lot of people really liked it, and it was done by Marvelous TJ, and I really am pleased with the look of it and the feel of it. In fact, when you see me looking this way, it's because I'm taking a peek at it, because I really like it. And of course, you can see in the sky, you can see Luneos with the three dancers orbiting, and you can see the wonderful Vixen, which is the blue moon that is there. And of course, we do not have Zaragost in the sky right now in this image, but it is really quite amazing. Anyway, let us continue, cameraman. Oh yes, this gives you an idea, sort of the vision that I'm hoping we will bring to the table for Technic Artificistry, right? And so the reason we put this up is because I wanted to get people's opinions on whether we should do teeth or no teeth in sort of the attacking Technic Artificer here, this marvelous image of this young woman who is sicking her technic machinations, in this case mechanical spiders, on an opponent, right? So this is the idea, right? And so I will show the whole image tomorrow because it is really magnificent. But if you have a moment, go into the Gooey Den and let us know whether you prefer her kind of going or whether you prefer her kind of going right? So we
have like an exact 50-50 vote right now.
Oh, 50-50. So break the tie. Yes, break the tie.
I would say I think I like the teeth one more.
They both have. Originally when I got it, I loved the image, but I sent it back to the artist this is Benjo, and asked Benjo if he would please just adjust it a little bit and make her look a little more intense, right? And so he sent me two options to consider from, and I figured since the Den helped us pick this one in the first place, because there was three options originally, I figured, well, heck, let's give him a chance to kind of pick her at the finish here. And wait till you see it. I'm going to post it tomorrow. I think it is magnificent. And in fact, no, we'll do that next week. The giveaway today that we're going to do somewhere in the midst of the show, the giveaway today is the marvelous, she's going to show it in a minute, is the marvelous blood apple tree image with the Queen of Nightmares sitting on her glass throne beneath it. With a little signature on it.
I did not grab that.
Oh, camera Mandy,
I'm sorry.
I put it up.
Neither did you.
Well, yes, I did. I took a picture of it. It is in there. She'll put it up while I'm vamping for time. Yes. Okay. Anyway, my friends, I hope you love this. This is what we want Artificitors to be. Almost think of it as monster summoning, right? And so they have these things we call, we're kind of messing around with the name right now, but something, they're like little metal cocoons for lack of a better term. And I haven't finalized the name, but I'm close. And they're these little metal cocoons, and they throw them out, right? And they unfold, and out of them come their tactic machinations, right? This is marvelous, right? And so they are able to carry these things around, and there are some that cannot fit into those cocoons. There are larger ones that just don't work that way, and then they become constant companions, like perhaps a mechanical wolf or a mechanical panther or something like that. But these smaller ones, these spiders and sort of flying things, right? So like mechanical sturges, right? Although we call them hog skeeters. We like them better because we have sturges, but we also love hog skeeters, right?
So you throw,
yes, my dear.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know you're going off.
No, this is good.
But first off, you did not put that picture in the Google Drive.
I promise I did.
Okay. The second thing, though, how...
But you can find it.
How... yeah, I will figure it out because it's not here. How do you write... Because I was talking to Carrie yesterday about how you don't break Magicka and like how you build stats and how you build a whole book. I know that there are other things in our other books that people have said, oh, I'm not sure that this quite works. So how do you put this all together and make it function? Well,
the thing is, philosophically, first of all, I've said this so many times. You take 100 tables and you look at the adventuring party that's at that table, and some of them are going to be weak and underpowered, and some of them are going to have magnificent stats but not have very much magic, and some of them are going to have just average stats but a lot of magic, and some are going to have magnificent stats and lots of magic, and some of them forget all of the stuff that has to go with mechanics on the table. There are players out there that are really, really good. I have had the privilege of playing with many of them. They're strategic, they're thoughtful, they don't do silly things that can, well, okay, that's not true. Everyone does silly, stupid things sometimes, but they don't get themselves in trouble in combats. They don't, they work together, they don't end up fireballing the rogue 16 times, all those kinds of things that happen, right? And then the other players who maybe are less experienced, or they just don't care as much, right? And so they tend to run more loose, right? And so they're not as capable in combat perhaps as others might be. And so when you put all that together and you try to say you're going to balance an adventure, it's impossible. It truly is impossible for someone to do a pre-written thing that is going to work at all of those 100 tables. And that's why the game master's job is so important in terms of level balancing and balancing it for the players at their table and all of that kind of stuff. And that is why we did the level variable things that go on in all of our monster stats, because we know that this exists. So that's why we have weaker party, make it tough, make it tougher, all that stuff that's in there, right? So that's the idea behind it, because we can't balance it for every table that is out there. It's impossible. And so the game master has to do that. So our goal is to make it easier on the game master to do that, right, Camera Mandy? How'd I do? That was a pretty good answer, yes?
Yeah. That was an awesome answer.
So, and we do go through these things very hard. And I will tell you, I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you that some of our spells are just slightly a little better than other spells that are in there. For example, Zythic Flojectiles, which is one of my own creations. I wanted a more interesting magic missile. I wanted something that would give more flexibility to mages rather than just an individual magic missile that was always the same, that was always force all the time. And so that's why Zythic Flojectiles exist. And my hope is that lots of people will say, wow, this is a little better than Magic Missile, and I want to take it. Oh, there she is. Now, this is the other one. This is the one with the dark. We did this for Marcus, so I'll explain that in a second. But anyway, that's kind of, the goal is to not create anything that's too OP. And that's why, we ask different people who have a lot of good mechanical sense, and Andrew has been marvelous in helping us in that. He's given us some other perspective because he's kind of new to the mix, if you will, and he's given us some great suggestions, which we've actually incorporated some of them. And thank you, Andrew. We appreciate your last minute helps to kind of give us a final check. Anyway, let us look at this. So we did the Queen of Nightmares, and she is actually very, very pale skinned. I would call her almost albino kind of a look, right? And she has red eyes, and she is, of course, she is an Unseelie, right? She is one of the members of the Court of Nightmares, and she is actually the leader of the Court of Nightmares. And
sorry, Jen says, I pledge my soul to her.
Yeah, I mean, what I loved about this is that she is not overtly sinister, right? But you can see the power with her, right? She has all of this power. but her hands are steeped in this red, right? And this is just a marvelous image, and just has so much going on that I love. If you look in the trees, you can see very subtly in the tree, you can see very subtly there are faces in the tree, and the whole blood apple tree concept, and the Queen of Nightmares, and all, it's just marvelous. It's magnificent. She is a wonderful nemesis. But Marcus said, "Dang it! Because I guess he's using the Queen of Nightmares right now in one of the adventures with his players." And he was, "Dang it, I described her with dark horns and with dark hair." And so I asked one of our people here, because we have this little agency, right, who is good at Photoshop. Her name is Hannah. And I said, "Hannah, do me a favor, just quick, just give me some dark hair and red horns." And so Hannah did that real fast, and then we put it back up so Marcus could use it in the game. Now, don't expect I'm going to do that all the time, but
isn't
that
question.
fun? Isn't that a wonderful tale?
Here's the other one.
Yes, there's the original. Yes, it's magnificent.
I'm curious, do you guys have a preference between her with blonde hair or her with dark hair?
Oh yeah, whatever.
I'm actually kind of curious about this.
She's probably going to stay because of descriptions and stuff like that. She's probably going to stay as the original with the light hair. But it sure was fun doing this, And by the way, again, I'm looking at the TV, so all of you see me looking away from the camera. That is why I'm doing it. But when I was playing with her and with the artist, because Unseelies have sort of this light gray, sort of silvery skin, which is magnificent, right? And I looked at her both ways. And I really, compositionally, in the way she felt, she just felt so good with this really bright white, sort of totally pale skin. And that's why I ended up going in that direction with it, because I just love this. And I love the blood apple tree. And this is Carrie's creation, by the way. When we were talking about Wild Hearts, this is one that she came up with, and it's really wonderful. It's just another wonderful add to the World of Zyathé.
So a lot of people said that they would love a print of this. They'd love a poster print, but I think this is the prize, right? For
this
today?
Is the prize. So one person who's going to get a chance to get one of these will sign it. And we'll ship that out as a prize today. But we are talking now about, because we have so many wonderful artworks, we're talking about a number of things. One, of course, is this little sort of support us Patreon thing, so that, because our goal is to at least cover the salaries of all the people who work here, who are doing so much wonderful work for Gooey Cube. And if we could do that, it really sustains us. It puts us in a tremendous position. I don't know if we can do it, but we're going to put a nice little sort of Patreon. It's not going to be on Patreon. We're going to do it directly, but we're going to do some kind of a program like that, where we're going to send locations, a little bit of lore, artwork, maybe a portrait or two, a sort of almost like a mini encounter adventure would be sort of the way to describe it, monthly, perhaps a magic item card or two, a nice little package that is definitely worth it, and we're going to do that. But we're also going to put up, I think, a number of our our favorite art prints, and put those up for sale that people can get in oversized, perhaps 12 by 17 or 13 by 17 or 11 by 17 or whatever format works. So that's something else we're looking at doing, and we are working on the new website, by the way, friends. So we're pushing hard. All of Harry's minis I hope to have up there at that time in a fully well organized thing. Speaking of Harry's minis, I think you got.
I know. Speaking of Harry's minis, with that said, before we head out, I will say people were saying that we should dye the tips of her head or of her hair to match her fingertips.
Oh, give a little red touch
at the bottom. And I actually really like that idea.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that. Deal. We'll take a little peek at that to see what folks think. Yes, we'll take a little peek.
Okay.
All right. So what is next? Oh yes. So Harry. Yeah. So a treeling that is sort of Harry's creation. Obviously, there's others that exist out there, but I really love the look of this little fellow. This ranger, right? And the face is just really, really good. It's got wonderful alien and these long spindly arms, and it's just really Harry's fantastic. I am in awe every time you put one up now. Of course, Daniela Fograve, who you put up, which is Kaya's marvelous character. It was just fantastic. And of course, now we got this one. I mean, it's just, Harry, you bless us incredibly with your talent, your art, and your friendship. And thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Agreed.
Yeah, isn't that great? It's great. Oh, Christina. Yeah, so this is Christina. And Christina said to me, she says, I have a bunch of hats. And I said, do you now? And I said, yeah, perhaps you need to show us some of these hats, right? And so she did, and they're really fun. And what she told me, and what many of you might not know, is that a lot of her hats that are sort of inspired by animals, this one, I think, a firefox or firewolf or something. She might be in the chat, so confirm that for me, Christina. But the proceeds from a lot of these hats that she has go to wildlife conservation, which is just magnificent, right? And so it is wonderful to do something good. Oh, Camera Mandy, did you have to, right in my eye? I mean,
whatever.
Goodness gracious. I mean, does anyone have hold on, I need a napkin about this.
You're so dramatic.
Oh my God. I'm sure that I'm going to get ill now after the vomiting incident of last night.
Oh
yes,
my
gosh. Oh God.
I am getting thrown under the bus. Christina, you look amazing here.
Amazing.
And I appreciate that you posted all these hats. And I have a few other posts from other hatters as well.
Yes, all the hatters. But I can't count Christina as a hatter because it's such a magnificent thing going on there. I just, Christina, you're all right with me, even though you got them hats on your head. All right, what do we got here? Oh, yes, wizards are prohibited. It seems to me that wizards' hats are prohibited, is what I see there.
Nope.
I just want to say...
Hats are just correlated with wizards.
When I'm looking at that, it says hats are not allowed. Yes. I don't know what I did, but
yeah, I think you do know what you did. Okay.
Thank you, Sean.
Also, we had this great post.
Oh yeah, this was
Randy.
So good, Randy. This made me chuckle. And I did not know this. And I think I mentioned in there. I talked to Kevin about this. I think it was Kevin that I was going to be an ichthyologist when I was coming out of school. Till I took sort of advanced chemistry in college, and that about destroyed me. And I thought that was not going to be a good idea. But I did a tremendous amount of scuba diving in my youth, and literally hundreds of hours of dive time. And I never knew this about sea urchins, that they actually literally will take little things, shells, and put them on their heads, if you will, and doggone it if people. And then Zane comments and says, "I'm doing this right for my aquarium." So I'm like, "Wow, this is cool." Zane, you have to show us pictures.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, basically they 3D print hats for urchins.
Yeah,
so that way they can use them. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Totally fun.
Okay, next up.
Oh, this was Nate, right? So Nate, we had a little mix-up in an address or something, but finally we got Nate all of his stuff, and we are really thank you, Nate, for putting up Verdestia there on the wall and for making a post. We love those posts. Thank you for it. Just reinforces us and makes us feel good when people put up their stuff that they've received or show us their game shelves, and it is just appreciated all the time. So, and Nate, we can't wait to hear your tales. We can't wait. So let us know how it goes, will you? Oh, yes, we had a great time, James. Thank you. And all the misfits. Yes, all of you. And, of course, we have Zix Grumus here, yes, who is one of the marvelous characters in Darkenhaven, a friend of Alphinius Goo, Zis player, yes, so we play Zis together, and a lot of tales have arisen, but we were able to sit on Tavern Talks with the Misfits on, I think, Wednesday night, and it was Thursday night, whatever night it was. Wednesday night, yes, of course. And it was really fun, James. Thank you so much. And thanks to all the Misfits for what you do. Don't forget they do Shadows in Darkenhaven on Sunday nights, if you get a chance to check them out. This is a pretty fun little jaunt that goes on every week.
And this week, their artist, Brina, is going to be joining them.
Yes, so Brina, and she's marvelous. Yes,
absolutely.
I didn't know you were going to show this, Camera Mandy. So how come you put this one up? Just because?
Because I wanted to say congratulations to Jim Hibbs for winning the Cyclopaedia Volume 1 that we gave away last week on Goo Morning Zyathé.
Yes, thank you, Jim. And Jim, for all your posts and the things that you do.
I think Alphinius just doesn't like this picture because it's the top of his head. I think that's what's going on.
At least it's not showing the bald spot on the back. Yes, right. And Ms. Goo doesn't want me to use the squirty stuff that apparently gets rid of the bald spot. So I don't use the squirty stuff. So it's just there, Someday we'll take a picture of it, right? And a lot of people wear hats to cover over their bald spots, right? So I don't do that, right? I'm totally good with my bald spot. Let it be.
I think that I'm glad that you are loud and proud about your bald spot.
Why not? Yes. Aha, yes. It is. Ever since Michael Jordan changed the world for us guys who don't have as much hair on the top of our head. Thank you, Michael. We will remember you forever. Yes, for bald men everywhere.
We are getting off track. Also, in this photo, though, I wanted to point out that we got our people, like about 10 people have won signed Shadows and Gensicon covers. Those are getting shipped out or have been shipped out. That's signed and they're all good to go.
And today is the last day, right, Camera Mandy? So everyone needs to know that.
Oh, yes, and please take a moment. I actually have some pictures of GenzaCon here. So here's Geeky's GenzaCon.
Geeky. Thank you, Geeky.
Here's Kevin getting his GenzaCon.
Thank you, Kevin.
And then here's me.
Yes, and Camera Mandy. She got 3.
Yes, well, my brother's deployed, so.
Yes, I know. So this is one for your dad and one for your brother?
And then one for me. Yeah. So today is the last day to get your limited edition Shadows and GenzaCon. Of course, we will have the normal edition starting on Monday available.
Yes, I think they'll have it ready on Monday for folks. That one will not have the special portraits. And really, I tell you all, I've written a lot, and Rob started the journey with Shadows and GenzaCon with me, and then passed it off, and then I took it and ran with it, and I think it was a wonderful collaboration. Then AJ helped out to really finish it off, and I think it is a really fun tale. Total murder mystery, so it's total whodunit. We kind of, for those of you who've never run one, we give a lot of suggestions and ideas of sort of what you can do to make it cool and interesting, and all the kind of little ads and things you can do. So we don't just put it out there and say, here's who done it, now go run the game, right? So I think for folks that like those kind of adventures and those kind of games, I think you're going to love this one. And also the Thu'ul make the first appearance in the world of Zyathé, other than, of course, being referenced in East Verdestia and, of course, the Cyclopaedia Zyathica Volume 1. Yes, marvelous. The Thu'ul.
Well, I'm curious. Like, I'm not even sure if I'm going to play with this one or get another one.
You should get another one. Don't.
Yeah.
I would put this away.
We'll
I don't think. Like I said, I don't know what the final numbers are because we haven't done the final count because a number of people have ordered here over the last couple of weeks. But I don't think there will be more than 500 of these in the world. And the only reason I'd take the shrink wrap off that is, and I'm a collector, so you have to understand that many people are not, right?
I'll go around and get mine signed. We'll make it.
Peter Atkinson is the one you want to get signed by.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to shake his hand and say hello and have a chat with him, and he signed my copy. So I'm very excited about that. So it was just a wonderful guy, by the way, just fantastic. And all the Gen Con folks have been so helpful to us. You have no idea. It's magnificent to work with them. Megan, if you're watching, if you ever see this, thank you especially. You have been so wonderful to us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Oh, yes,
this
Paul.
You
have to look at this video.
This is so crazy.
Yes, if you have not seen this video in the Gooey Den, you need to take a peek at this. Go ahead, Camera Mandy. You talk about it. I'll take a drink of my coffee.
Okay, so basically it is like some kind of technology where, like, as you can see, he's pointing into this tunnel right here. And then he pulls out a tablet, and I'm guessing you can do this on your phone too, and it tracks the motion of, it's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like one of those panorama photos on Facebook, except that it's going underneath and overlaying the tunnel underneath and what's built underneath. It's really so crazy. I'm like, how does this technology exist in the fingertips of just normal people? Like,
well, Camera Mandy, there's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Now, I am a purist, so I will probably, till the rest of my days, game at an actual table that is not electronic, that doesn't use, all of this stuff.
Augmented reality is what they call it.
Yes, it's not. It is not for me, right?
Thank you.
Because I have all these miniatures and all these wonderful things from folks like Dwarven Forge and Tabletop World and many other wonderful crafters, and I love those things. And but for those of you who are playing not in person, for those of you who are playing away from others, this is going to give a much more robust experience, I think, than sort of what goes on now, because it is harder when you're disparate, when you're far away. The tabletop is not the same, all that stuff. And of course, one D&D that they're talking about that's coming out, there's a lot of interesting stuff about that. It's going to be fun to see how it evolves over the next 12 to 24 months. I'm sure there'll be wonderful discussions about it in the Gooey Den, yes?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is the kind of thing I could 100% see my husband. I don't think I'd ever have the brain power to sit down and figure it out. But I know Adam would love playing with something like this. And I mean, just because you may not play with it yourself doesn't mean that you can't appreciate how incredible it is that gaming is getting put into this level. But with that said, there's still people who run great games with just a piece of paper, dice, and a pencil.
Absolutely.
So there is no wrong way to game. We're supportive of all of it.
Yes, yes, yes. Are folks enjoying all this? We're going a little long, but I want to make sure that
we got to wrap up really quickly here.
But this was Keith put this up, and I really loved the idea of it, right? That here we are moving into fall, and here's this wonderful little halfling hole, and what a just magnificent image. You know, it just was so pretty. And so I just asked cameraman to put that one up. Thank you, Keith, my friend. All of these images are so inspirational. Let's move on.
This reminds me of Hobbiton.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, yes. So Adam put this one up. And again, these are the kind of things that give, you know, just so much inspiration. That's why I love the den, right? Is all of this inspiration that goes up here. Now, you know, this was hilarious and terrifying at the same time, which is hard to do, you know, but it really is quite an interesting image. And Adam, I think he said, need a light, question mark, was the question. I said, not from this guy.
That's so funny. I love the little daisy.
Yeah, I know. It's hilarious and terrifying at the same time.
At the same time. It's kind of like Babadook.
Ooh, it's hard not to look at it, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, and Keith.
Oh, and I should have mentioned, I'm sorry, that this, oops, my bad. I went nuts here. This is from Anton Semenov.
Oh, yes. Marvelous.
Right.
Yes,
this one is from Iri Nakagawa.
Yes. And what a tea with owls. Yes, I think it's called, I can't remember what it was, the Tea Party, I think was what it was called. And Keith put it up. Thank you, Keith. I hope you're doing great, my friend. It was great to hear from you this morning. I'm excited as we move into the fall and then move into the winter, that soon we will be going to Genghis Khan, yes, in February. And a lot of Gooey folks sound like they're coming, and we are excited for that. And Keith, I think, is coming. So all of you, if you're thinking about it, you know, please consider the possibility of coming to Denver at the end of February and joining us at Genghis Khan. There's going to be a lot of fun there. We're going to do a Gooey game show from there. We got lots of things that are going to happen, and Donnie and Andrea are marvelous. And we love our little sort of what we call our home convention. And you know, it's got a good number of people, but it's not crazy big, and it is intimate and wonderful gaming. So I think if you can make it work, come join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. And this one, Kevin put this up. So I've seen other sort of renditions of this, but never with the little boat in the front, which changes the whole dynamic of sort of the idea of this, right? Is that here's this little fishing boat out there in the waves, right? Looking out, and I think I said something like that. I think all the people on that boat are wetting their pants, right?
Or they're like, bring it on.
Yeah, oh yeah, bring it on. I have a harpoon for you.
Or they're dragging something behind them.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yes.
Kevin, thank you. You post wonderful things too. All these folks who put these posts up, you know, who just inspire us. It is magnificent.
This one was by Leon Beckelars.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, and then Kevin did this. And this is a video that's worth watching too. Apparently, this is a rarely seen jellyfish, which looking at, I think it was, what did it say, 1900, they actually found it for the first time. And it is wonderfully photogenic because it's got a little bit of luminescence to it and all of that stuff. So if you get a chance and you like these kinds of things, take a peek. Look at the sea urchins with hats and look at the jellyfish that glows in the dark. It's marvelous. And then Jim put this up. I thought this was magnificent, this stairway. And, you know, you think about these things, what a wonderful image to show your players and say, hey, you got to go up here, you know? So it's good. It's really, really good.
Sets the scene.
All right. And then Sean put this up. This is Armadillo, which is an opossum in heavy armor. And I kind of went, oh, my God, it really is.
We had some good memes.
We did. No, we had some great fun this week with the den. And then this one, Sean Gabbard put this one up, which is parenting done right. If you aren't teaching your kids how to form a good shield wall, are you really a good parent? You know, so that made me chuckle. So thank you. Thank you for that one. And that is social media for today. Is that right, Cameron?
Yes. Sorry, we got through it all. Let's go ahead and dig into
the book club?
The Wy'rd book club.
The Wy'rd book club. Okay, no questions from anybody at this point? We're okay? We haven't missed anybody that had a question or thought?
I mean, I've had a lot of really great, amazing conversations and comments that I've enjoyed.
I never get to see them because I have to sit here.
I know. I am working on it. I am working on it. I'm sorry. You guys have to understand, this is like the busy season for the advertising agency.
It is the busy season.
So, especially for the video department. So I just have not had a chance.
Yes.
I'm trying, though. Okay.
Cameron Mandy has said that I can have a pipe in here for Goo Morning Zyathé as long as we can open the window.
I mean, you said, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to open the window.
And you said it was okay.
And I said, Well, I guess you're just going to do it. And
no,
that's fine.
If you object, I will not do it.
No, it's fine.
But it's marvelous. I would love to have a pipe with you all.
I know genuinely. Maybe I'll take up smoking pipes.
You should. We can have cigars and pipes. We could be part of the book club. Could be having pipes.
You know what will happen is we'll set off the alarms in here, and all of our thousands of dollars of equipment will just get completely destroyed.
I didn't even think about that. Is there I don't know if there's any of that.
The water. Yeah, now he's like all paranoid.
No, I don't know if we can do that.
Yeah, we will look into it before we start doing it.
A little test. Good God, that would be the most amazing. That'd be the most viral Goo Morning Zyathé in the history of Goo Morning Zyathé. If the sprinkler started going off and shooting on us.
It would beat the time you got pulled over and got a ticket on camera.
I forgot about that. Yes, I love that cop. What an amazing cop. Comes in, hands me the ticket, and smiling the whole time, it was just what a wonderful thing.
It was very sweet.
It was wonderful. Yes, very sweet. What would have been sweet is, sir, this is a warning. Don't do it again.
You deserved it, and you know it.
I did.
Okay, so Jim says, I need a bubble pipe.
Yes, a bubble pipe.
That'll be nice. We'll have some smoke and some bubbles all up in this place. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into the Wy'rd book club. Now, if you guys read pages 1 through 20 and had any particular questions regarding this, feel free to put them up in the chat and make sure that I see them. And I also got some great questions from Belinda that we're going to be going through, and I have some of my own questions.
And I'll do a little background first to get us started. But this is going to be our strategy now. We're going to do this, and I do want to bring back, I think I mentioned, I'm going to bring back the Netherdark too. We're going to continue that little adventure. But a lot of folks have said, there's lots of lore. Can you help us with it a little bit? And this was why Cameron Mandy sort of came up with the book club idea. So any suggestions to make it better? If you don't like it, let us know that too. We want to do things that people are enjoying. So the reason why we're beginning with the lore, even though most people have kind of gotten through this, is we think it's kind of important, as I mentioned earlier. So this kind of sets the stage, this Chronicles of the Ventenium Alunax, which is in volume 1. And it speaks to the beginning of creation, right? And as you read through these pages, right, you read through Calignis Echoes and the Birth of Doom, you begin to see the strategy that we put in place as authors, that we wanted to have sort of tension in the godly realms as well. So traditionally, the tension has been primarily between the gods of evil, neutral, and good, right? That's been traditional. And we sort of took it a different direction. And that was our intentional, right? And so we created the Four Lords of Corruption, which was sort of outside of the pantheon entirely and completely not. That damn fly is back, cameraman. That damn fly. There's a fly.
I don't think it's probably not the same one.
Yeah, it's probably
or maybe it is, because we did talk about it.
How long? Does anybody know how long flies exist? Yes. If it puts that up in the chat, I'll be impressed with you right now. In fact,
oh God, it's over here. Okay, why did you bring it to my attention?
I'm sorry about that, cameraman. Anyway, so Avovad, speaks the way of all things. All right, which is the 13th level spell, the only one that exists because there is nothing beyond it. Right, the cast of the 13th level is basically one spell called the Way of All Things. And that makes all creation possible. So Avodah speaks that and then creates the Zyathés to energize and power everything and infuses that, the Zyathés, along with the 4 elements into the void, right? And so this begins the great making, right? And that's what you read in here as you go through it. And then, of course, there's this magnificent 4 sparks of corruption that appear on the fringe of the void. And they begin to go off into their own place. And Avodah didn't really notice them, right? So again, now we have begun the creation of the foundation, right? The foundation of the creation, if you will, and this tension that begins already, right? And for those of you who've been peeking, right, and knowing and reading things, there's another probably deific sort of thing that's coming, which we have not really released yet, which is this 9 that are coming, that are returning, right? And there's been a lot of speculation because there are 8 dead gods, but there are 9 that are coming back, right? And these are antithetical probably to the Lords of Corruption and probably to the Pantheon as well. And so we really set up ourselves, I think, a very magnificent sort of eldritch horror thing with these 9, and then sort of bring the antithesis of Ova and the creation of the 72 gods in with the corruption lords, and all 3 of them are probably going to be at odds. And that's the wonderment of what I think is coming in regards to the Pantheon and in regards to the foundation that we are building. So then you go through you know, the birth of doom, right? And I'm gonna put on my glasses, right? Camera Mandy said she's gonna get me some really cool, my God, the fly landed on my head.
Yeah.
And I took a shower this morning.
Jen comes with the info that you asked for. Adult flies normally live for 2 to 4 weeks, but can hibernate during the winter.
Oh, so it could be the same damn fly because it's only been a week.
Yep. Could be. So
thank you, Jen.
Also, I have opened up the giveaway. It is #book club on Twitch in order to win that art print.
Yes, put your hashtag. And remember, if you have not done so and you want to win prizes, you've got to go to gooeycube.com/prizes. All right, and put in your information there so that it makes it really easy for us because we're going to do these prizes all the time. This is, you know, it's part of supporting our community and thanking you for supporting us. So, you know, this is the thing we're going to keep doing. So make sure you've gone there and put your information in so Camera Mandy and Mel and the rest of the team have it easy to be able to fulfill a prize that you win.
Also, I will just add to that, if you have moved, if you can update your address in your main Gooey Cube account, that is super helpful for us as well. And if you moved and are in Kickstarter, please.
Yes. Oh, yes. If you moved and you're in the Kickstarter, please let us know. You know, yes. So please do that. That would be helpful.
Okay, anyway.
So as you see, it continues, right? And you see the development of the Lords of Corruption. You see the development of the world. You see, you know, as it moved here, right, in the Rise of Life, which is on page 6, and all seemed well and good. Get away, fly.
Oh my God, it was like
get away, fly.
I'm so sorry.
We were going to get some fly spray in here. Actually, you know what? If I smoke my pipe, I don't think the fly will disturb me. Yeah.
I saw a comment that said, I hear that hats repel flies.
They do not. It's a lie. Spawned by the hatters. But the damn fly needs to go, right? Anyway, and all seemed well and good. Yet amongst the purity of the Maker's creation festered a wretched impureness. Deep within the everflow, a twisted and terrible thing existed, a defilement that had gone unnoticed since it had been placed there long, long ago. The small current of unadulterated foulness, which had been embedded in the Zyathés by the 4 lords of corruption, pulsed deep within the flow as venom running through the veins of a doomed man. The gods of magic found it first. Evoke, goddess of light magic, Infiorni, god of raw magic, and Sha'ada, the goddess of dark magics. These then shared their discovery with the other gods in their respective deific realms. Without knowing the properties of this new aspect of the everflow, the 3 gods of magic began to test and probe it, seeking to learn its purpose. But no matter how they tried, no matter what magical employments they enjoined, they were foiled in their attempts to do so. And 'twas then that the whispers began. Yes, and so this is where the beginning of the corruption of the gods was happening. Are there questions? Because I want to make sure that I'm dealing with these, you know, as folks are going on here with this. So this is where the cameraman, any questions in there or not yet?
No, I still have the ones from Belinda that we'll talk about in a little bit.
All right. So then you can see that the whispers happen, right? So this is on page 6, right? And then as you continue through, you begin to learn of the fouling of creation, right? And then the Great Betrayal, which speaks to this idea of what happened as the gods of evil were betrayed and how the gods' war happened, right? And this is when the Lords of Corruption finally reveal themselves. So this is on page 8, and it says, "For the gods of evil had been deceived," in the last line of the Great Betrayal.
I do like all of the layers of deception that go into this. And I do also like, you can start to see how, okay, so basically these 72 gods, obviously you have to have balance between all these gods. So, you know, like with all things, we have all the different categories.
Indeed.
And then seeing how the evil gods, or is that what we call them?
Well, the thing is, you know, we even gave a little latitude to the evil gods because what we did was, because as more complex societies were formed, right, people needed to follow more rules, right? They needed to be, you know, not so sort of, you know, chaotic and going your own way and all of this kind of thing and doing bad things, right, and all of that kind of stuff. And so the worshipers of evil kind of got pushed to the side. So this is what caused the evil gods to get frustrated. They're like, come on, y'all, you know, we're part of this pantheon too, you know, and you neutral and good gods are sort of ganging up on us, right? And our worshipers are getting kind of kicked out and blah, 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 right? And so, you know, that created its own tension between the neutral and good gods and the evil gods. And so in their frustration, this is why the whispers that went towards the evil gods were effective because they felt slighted, they felt marginalized, yes, pushed away. And that is why they enjoined the lords of corruption. Yes. Is that not marvelous, Cameramendi?
No, I think it's really interesting. I also think I like the idea of the balance between gods. Of course, I don't love the idea of evil.
Well, the thing is, in the end, you can't really have tails if you don't have bad.
If you don't have bad in them, you have to have that, element of corruption in society. And anyways, I like the layers.
Great protagonists, are made great by antagonists.
I also think that there's always something to be said, and I think this is something you even say, that really everyone has shades of gray.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So it's not necessarily, maybe from our perspective.
No, the gods of evil, just like the gods of good and neutrality, created races and peoples, right? Mm-hmm. The gods of evil did the same. And it doesn't make sense to me, it never has. In fact, long ago we walked away from this. It never made sense to me that individual races would sort of have a bent towards evil just because they were sort of created or crafted by evil gods, but yet in the good God, the people good gods created, they also would trend to evil. So you need to have a spectrum across all of these different peoples because it makes more sense and because it's way more interesting. Yes. It's just much more fun, right? And forget even the undertones of it, right? Which was we want to sort of walk away from sort of any group being sort of fully evil. That's a good thing to walk away from anyway. But just from a tale standpoint, right? It makes a lot more sense. It's a lot more better. That's what I think. So. Yes. Anyway, let's continue.
Oh, can I just make one more note? Okay, yes. So there's a line on page 5 about how the religions of Zyathé got established and how grand temples were raised in communities around the world to honor the mighty deities.
Yes.
So I know that we have some art out there, or if we don't have some art, we should make some art of some grand temples that are in ruins, or that some have stood the test of time.
So no, we are making more, when we go to the Cyclopaedia Religica, right, it's not named that yet, but that's kind of what we call it around here. When we go to that tome, we're going to speak to a lot of these kinds of things, even the histories, right, and all of that stuff, and some of the classes that we've brought forth that are somewhat unique to the churches, like the warders and others, right? And so we think people are going to love that, and because our take is, honestly, we don't care for resting. It's one of the few things that we really don't love so much in the new edition. And, resource depletion and sort of running out of things is kind of part of the adventure. And it still happens, but we don't really like the idea of fight, rest, fight, rest, fight, rest, fight, rest. We don't really care for that. And we don't really like that clerics have sort of been marginalized in this new world as well. And what we really would have preferred to see was that clerics actually be improved rather than sort of them be made unnecessary. And so that is our goal as we move forward, is to really make clerics a wonderful and fun class again that people like to play. And also give them what a lot of people don't like to play about clerics, right, is that they basically have to sit around and be heal bots all the time. So we've got some ideas we think people are going to love, and we're going to take some input from our community, and we're going to carry this forward and see how it goes.
Absolutely.
Aha!
Okay, so let's go ahead and keep moving forward.
So the gods of evil had been deceived, right? And then on page 8 it says, in the rise of corruption, in their blind quest for vengeance against their brothers and sisters, the evil gods had unleashed the four lords of corruption upon the creation by unsealing the fourth stream of the Zyathés, the nether flow. This horrid perversion of the Maker's plan had been sequestered deep within the Zyathés since being placed there by the four lords. In the millennia that followed, the four masters of corruption nurtured it, enhanced it, and used it to tap the power of the Maker while he slept. And this is very important to the entirety of this creation story, which is that literally the four lords had stuck something to the Lord, right, of all things, the creator of all things, this Avova, and began to siphon his power from him and taking it for themselves. And so this really changes the dynamic of the corruption lords and puts them at a different level than the gods, right? And so that is how this thing sort of danced forward as we moved into this. And then you read on chapter 9 that the gods suddenly were being suffering, right? In fact, I'll read this to you. So, these were beings of evil at its greatest depths, hatred with no end, dispassionate desire for the destruction and ruination of all things, embodied in horrific visages and monstrously powerful bodies. Their only pleasure derived from the suffering of everything around them. The power of these beings was unending, their malice unquenchable, and each god knew there was no salvation from the ascendance of these four abominations of the creation. But then Sylvain, the Lord of Light and leader of the gods of law and goodness, stepped forward. His sword was as a flaming sun, and his shield as the hottest metal that ever knew existence. Swinging with his entire might, using all the power that remained within his godly body, he struck the Lord of Ruin, who is named Foendeus, severing his arm. For a moment, hope kindled in Sylvain's eyes. But then, as he watched, his sword slowly turned to ash and dust in his hand, and then his hand and arm followed, the ash spreading across his body, until, with but a single wail, the greatest of the gods of good was no more.
I really love that passage.
Yes, and when you, Camera Mandy, when you see the image of Foendeus is missing his arm.
Yeah, because he was, I mean, you're getting ahead of yourself. Wait, this is the god that was reborn?
No.
Oh, no.
Well, Sylvain.
Oh, I got you.
Sylvain is probably, there's a lot of speculation because we haven't really revealed it yet. But Sylvain, of course, is one of the gods who perished in the Nether War, the Gods' War.
Right.
And there were 8 of them that perished. And now there's this idea of, you know, if you're reading the Red Star Rising campaign, of course, you know something about Flamarish, and I'm not going to do very careful about this. You know, a little bit about Flamarish and some things that are going on in there that that whisper towards this this goings on. So it is magnificent. So,
but yeah, I do love the idea that you think it's like as if you're watching this big blockbuster, this huge war happening, and you think Captain America or whoever, Thor, is about to take out the big baddie, and it's that moment of like. No. Yeah. So I love that.
Yes, it's one of those OMG moments, I think, right? It feels like it, right? I hope people love this. I am very enamored with this story because I think it really, without it, there is no Zyathé. Not the way it is. And, and it is magnificent. So.
I'm going to pause for just a second.
Yes.
Okay, so Blade Zeus, who I think is
Hans. Yes.
Yeah. Won the giveaway.
Hans, congratulations. We're sending you your Shadows in Genzicon that you purchased, so we'll put it in with that. Congratulations.
Well, it'll be separate. It'll be in a poster tube.
Oh, because that's right. Because it's a little oversized.
Yes, but he was curious about what he won. So.
Oh yes, good question, Hans. You won her.
You won this beautiful.
Yes. And the Queen of Nightmares.
We will give another one of these away next week. So.
Yes, maybe we'll do that and the Technic Artificer. We'll give a little print away. We'll see what happens, my friends. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So anyway, continue, Camera Mandy.
Well, I just want to make sure because it's like 10:58, so I want to make sure we get to Belinda's questions.
All right, let's do those. Let's go ahead. And any other questions, put them up. People have been putting questions up. We can do this one more week and then finish this, and then this will be great. And I think this is a nice way to digest the lore, and I'm excited to do this for a long time if folks enjoy it. So let us continue.
Okay, so the first question was about the mythos is something that I know most, if not all of Zyathé is aware of, and she is wondering if there's races out there that have different creationist stories that they've made themselves aside from these ones.
So that is quite possible, right? Because mythology is mythology, and of course the entire world was beaten back to the, whatever you want to call it, the Stone Age, right? With the woe of ruin. And so all manner of myth and tale could grow up in many different cultures. Of course, this is the true tale of corruption, of creation and the corruption of creation. But of course, it would be natural, I think, that would happen. So it's a great question, Belinda, and I concur with you that I think that in certain places and localities, you'd have all kinds of myth and legend, right? There are even people who worship Avova, even to this day in the world, right? Even though, as far as everyone knows, Avova is gone, dead, never to be again, right? So that's a great question, and it's certainly true that you would expect that different mythologies and different tales would arise.
Absolutely. And then, are there creationists the recreationist theories, like enough time has passed that there are those who don't believe the history at all. Like,
yeah, undoubtedly, I would expect that there are people who have, and people who have twisted it for their own purposes, right? There are people who will manipulate people with religion as well as they do it with anything else, right? And so those kind of nefarious individuals make up their own tales, and there's a guy named Zoldothran Vildreen who tells everyone he is the deity incarnate, Avovar reborn, yes? So, of course, you're absolutely right, Belinda. That would happen, right? That would occur. But there is only one creation tale, and it is the true creation, right? Is how it works.
But I mean, even this one is told through the lens of somebody who used magic to go back in time to find all of these details.
Yeah.
So I could definitely imagine that people would not trust that person to tell the tale as it was. Of course.
And there could be little differences and nuances, which is the wonderment of the game, because that gives you room to move as a game master at your table, right? That is the magnificent thing of it.
Absolutely. And then also, she was mentioning that she felt that there was a lot of influence from other sources that she had read that contributed to this. What influences did you use for the creation of the story, and how hard was it to separate from a retelling and find the fine line of really making it your own?
So this is always the question, right? Because so many people have done so many wonderful things, right? We did want a world that nodded to some of the great worlds that are out there, and especially because we were doing 5th edition, we wanted to have at least some familiarity to folks who are playing in other worlds that are associated with the 5th edition. And honestly, I played that at my table. Many of you have heard me say this before, that my world for many years was a very different, but certainly inspired by Ed Greenwood's magnificent Forgotten Realms. And Ed is one of my heroes. And so, but what we wanted was, there were some things we didn't want. We really wanted a pantheon that was very much pantheonic. We wanted clerics and holy warriors and all that stuff. They would have a devotion to a single deity because they are part of that church. But that church also is open and inviting to pretty much all of the gods that are within sort of their scope. So if you are a law and goodness, and you have a paladin of Radion, for example, right? There's absolutely no reason that Radion wouldn't bow just as deep a knee to evoke, right, in the sphere of law and goodness. And so we wanted this idea that, and you see this with the Hanatas, right? They have a number of deities that they hold especially dear, but everyone believes in all 72 of them. And some people might even, who are worried about something, perhaps Slay, who is the god of assassins, perhaps they are worried that there is an assassin coming after them. Perhaps they would go to Slay's temple and drop some coin in the box and say, Slay, please protect me from your, the one who wants to take my life, right? So this is the idea of the pantheon in Zyathé. And so a cleric who is devoted to one god is very much devoted to many gods, in maybe not quite the same way, but certainly elevates certain of them and vilifies others, right? And all of this stuff, but all of them are believed. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. We have a question from Renegade78, who I think, is that Renee?
I think it could be. I do not know off the top of my head.
Anyway, do you plan to publish a book on Zyathé deities with information on where they are worshipped?
Yes, and interestingly, as we produce the other continents as well, there's going to be some interesting takes on those that are based in the mythologies of those continents, right? So just like we mashed up East and Western Europe, North and Southern Europe. I mean, we went all the way pretty far east and we went pretty far west and tried to mash that up and make it our own, but we wanted to pick up the mythologies of those localities a little bit with our inspiration of those localities. That's the same that we want to do for Sundestia, which is going to be kind of a mashup of Africa and Egypt and the Near East, and that's what we're going to do with Estrenia, which is going to be a mashup of the this damn fly, come remember. Yes. Jeez. I did take a shower this morning too, so it shouldn't be too much on my case. But anyway, the goal is to have this the influence of those mythologies in those areas. Like I said, I think last week, we don't really want Rakshasa and Jinn and these kinds of things running all over Zyathé and Verdestia. we want to have them more running all over the place, more in Sundestia and maybe a little bit in Estrenia. But we're not going to, and just like we're not going to have Oni and those kinds of mythological creatures running all over Sundestia, they're going to be more in Estrenia, right? And we're going to try to take, Southeast Asian mythology, sort of take the mythology from Korea and China and Japan and even sort of, southern Russia there, where there's, more the folks they're more influenced by those more what we call Eastern cultures. And we're going to try to bring all of that stuff to Estrenia. And just like when we move to Zoostrenia, which is going to be more South America, Central America, and even a little bit of North America before the colonists and such from Europe came, and try to bring all of that and make that sort of mashed up in Zoostrenia, so that we really have a nod to all the cultures as much as possible in a fantasy world, within our world, and then each place feels a little more unique and a little more interesting and a little more familiar, perhaps, to folks who want to go travel in those kinds of localities, right? So this is what we're excited about.
Awesome. Well, I think that we got to call it a day because it is 11:06.
11:06. Was there any last question I should take real quick just to make sure we cover people? I don't want to leave people in the dust.
No, I think we're good to go.
Okay.
But please, we're still in the Ventenium Alunax. We'll be next week, and we'll try and get to this a little bit earlier next week so we can spend more time on it. So if you do have any more questions regarding the first 20 pages of the Wy'rd World, we are here, and we would love to take them. So.
Yes, thank you for attending today, my friends. We hope you enjoyed it. And like I said, please give us suggestions, right? Help us to make this as good as possible and enjoyable as possible. We do think that the lore is something people like, and Camera Mandy and I are talking about how I start reading books. So we might even have some other people help us with reading books. We'll see what happens with that. But try to get all this stuff so people can listen to it in their cars or whatever they're doing, which we think would be marvelous. Anyway, my friends, thank you so much. We are so excited for the things that are coming, and the new year and Genghis Khan and all of the fun stuff that we are doing. We're going to start exploring the Zion Dune with the Contributors Guild here pretty soon. We'll make that announcement. We're excited about that. And of course, we are very close to finishing all the maps for Gloomport. We have 2.5 left. Getting close on the catacombs and all of the wonderful people, the Gloomport Gloomers, who have contributed to that, and we're getting close to finishing off this Kickstarter. It's a wonderful thing. Thanks to all for your support, your friendship, and for your contributions to help make Zyathé special. May all your adventures be sticky. Say goodbye, Camera Mandy.
Bye.